Get off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take Advice I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumbles, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Thanks for tuning into the show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kanye talk. Or someone just reminded me that I should be saying P. Diddy instead of the K-words anymore. So we'll say that. And we're not talking about anything that's in the headlines this morning because 98% of the time it's negative, and you can get that anywhere. So here is a landing page for you to come when you want to hear something good, something positive, something affirming for your life and your reality show to be happy 88% of the time. And I have topics and guests to that end. And most of all, I have co-hosts to help me with that. And my favorite Wednesday co-host, I know it's Tuesday today, but it will be Wednesday when this airs on KCAA. But this is Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
She is a licensed OBGYN. That's the MD. That's why it's Doctors in the House. I'm just a PhD, which is just piled higher and deeper. But it provides us with this fabulous series title called Doctors in the House. We're celebrating 1 year, actually just a tad more, but we haven't celebrated my 1 year, and I wanted to do that today because it has been just a wonderful, special series for me to be able to have a like-minded, love-hearted host who not only is a great example of, she's a war veteran, she is also a playwright, a singer, a children's book author, all of these things that she chose to do as a direct result of not being able to do something that she went to school for a long time, which was OBGYN. And so I can't think of a better person to do Doctors in the House with me, not just because of her credentials, but certainly because of the example that she gives all of us on how to just live your life. No matter what happens to you, it's happening for you. And for that, I am so grateful to have a celebration today of 1 year with Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And so happy to be here. Woohoo!
For those of you who don't know the story, we got a finger on that one. Not that finger, but this finger. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know the story behind Dr. Tiffanie and I, we actually met, I think you reached out to me maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I'd been on KCAA, NBC News Radio for probably 3 or 4 years. And she reached out. She had a new book out. That book was the Flowetry book, I think, the very first one, and said, I would like to be a guest. And here's my book. And so next thing you know, she's on the show. I interview her. She did a great interview. And then 3 or 4 years go by. Or no, more than that. Let's see, 7 years go by. Because I'm in my 12th and a half year. And if we're celebrating 1 year, that's how long it was. I get a call and a voicemail on my phone that there's this beautiful operatic rendition of Happy Birthday to me. It was August 10th. And I'm like, who the heaven is this? And it was Dr. Tiffanie Tate wishing me a happy birthday. And at that exact time, I was transitioning off one of my co-hosts who was getting busier on the East Coast and not able to do the show anymore, co-hosting with me. So I had an opening. And I said to Dr. Tiffanie, what would you think about co-hosting with me regularly on the show once a week? And she's like, I'd love it. And boom, next thing you know, she's my fabulous co-host. It was easy. I don't know who came up with the name of the series. I'll just say both of us because it's a great name. And we've been coming at you for over a year now. And I hope that you will give Dr. Tiffanie some love as she deserves. And you can always find the entire year of our series on my YouTube channel, my YouTube TV channel, Cameras in the Studio. You can always get it on iHeart as well, but that's just talking. Here you get to watch and see how much she makes me laugh and vice versa. So we're so delighted to be celebrating here with you this morning. And that was my first gratitude. Those of you who know the drill, first thing we do in the morning on every show for the last 2 years is breakfast with myself and my co-host or guest. And that is top of the bun, things that we're grateful for, bottom of the bun, things that we're grateful for inside of ourselves so that we're looking out to be thankful and then we look in to be thankful. So that's the drill. I already did grateful, Dr. Tiffanie. So I've already done 3 gratitudes. So you have to catch up, Dr. Tiffanie.
Well, we are ending a year. I have so much to be grateful for. Number one, I am grateful that both of my children are under the same roof. I am a mama bear, and I love when my adult baby cubs are home. So I'm so grateful to have both of my young adult baby cubs at home. That is just such a blessing to me. And I praise God every day that they are home and that they are here and that I have them here to love on them. I am grateful that my son is at Rutgers University pursuing his education, doing what he wants to do his way and achieving his dream. And I am grateful that I was able to rebound and reinvent myself and to write my books. I have 4 books under my belt so far. I have a play and I write songs, and an individual song is in my play that you can find on YouTube, The Souls of Women. I am grateful for Brent Jones and Dr. Margaret DeRoe for allowing me to put some of their songs in my play. And I have so much to be grateful for with the support of my family, my friends, my sorority for coming out and supporting my play, and my church family for letting me have my play at the church. And there's just so much to be grateful for. You don't want to give me the gratitude because I go on and on.
Yeah, I think you caught up and bypassed the number of gratitudes there. So I'll just finish off with, I'm grateful that I got to spend Christmas Day with my co-host. You never know. Mixing business and pleasure is a very good thing. I have discovered from this show that's been on 661 consecutive weeks. This is podcast number 1,298, but who's counting? And the collection of people that I get to call as friends, co-hosts, guests, it's just amazing. And I got to spend Christmas Day with Dr. Tiffanie and her family. I got to rope her baby cubs into a game of Monopoly cards and beat them, of course. But I mean, it was their first time learning, so they're probably going to hear this, and so challenges thrown down, I'm sure. But her beautiful family out in Chino got to spend it at her brother and sister-in-law's house. It was a giant to-do. Nothing in anything I've ever done with Dr. Tiffanie is never on a small scale. I can't believe how many people are related to you.
Yeah, we always get big.
Is big. And I'm so grateful that I got to go and enjoy that to the nth degree. Plus the peach cobbler. I actually woke up thinking of that, kicking myself in the patootie for not taking some home. Like,
Ah,
I can't believe, well, it was probably nothing left, but that was like, why didn't I go check to see if there was anything left to bring up? Although I'm proud to say that I'm back down to the loss of 30 pounds. I had gained back, I was down 40, gained back 15. Now I'm only up 10. So I think it's because I didn't take home peach cobbler that Christmas day. But
yeah,
that's
the sneak tamales.
oh, and then the sneak tamales that I was not supposed to let anybody else know because she wasn't going to make it for the thousands of people that were there. It felt like, and those were delicioso. So there, I have exceeded my 8 gratitudes. 8 because 8's a lucky number in Chinese. I know you thought I was Swedish, but it's a homophone for good fortune. So let's go to the bottom of the button, which is, what do you like about yourself? It's gratitude turned inwards. It's so important because if you can't approve of yourself, how the fork do you expect anyone else to approve of yourself? So we do this as a model for you before you go to bed, instead of thinking about what I did wrong, what I shouldn't have said, what I should have, just shitting all over yourself. Instead of that, you are working the muscle to know that you're fabulous 88% of the time. So what are you specifically good at? And that's what we do at the bottom of the button. Dr. Tiffanie, take it away.
I like the fact that I can help people, but I also know that I can accept my limitations, because a lot of times we can overextend ourselves, especially during the holidays. And I like the fact that I can help people, but I have learned my boundaries, because boundaries are important.
I appreciate my ability to see with new eyes. And I try to do this every day, is to not let bad memories, cloud the way I see people. It's not easy. This is probably the most difficult thing that I um, have launched on in a long time, which is, my resolution is to lose my edge. That little part of you that is very quick if someone insults you, or if someone's done something to you in the past. I call it the FU edge. And I really this year want to focus on how I can lessen, if not eliminate, that part of me. And I know that I'm much better at it than I have ever been in my life. And I know that I'm working on doing more, because everybody does the best that they can. If they could do better, they would, but they can't right now. And it doesn't define them. That one thing that I did a long time ago that I really wish I hadn't, people are in the same boat with that. So that's what I'm working on.
I like the fact that I can leave the past in the past and move forward, because a lot of times people can hurt you and you can choose to forgive them. But when you don't forgive them, you are drinking the poison and letting it change your life, because they are living their lives and doing great. And you are stuck in the misery. And you can choose to stay in the misery with them or let them affect you. And while you are sitting there down and distraught, they are happy and go lucky. And I think it's important to let go, let God push forward, and enjoy your life. And I think that I have learned to woo-saw my way through. Say, I am going to let it be like duck off a water back. Water off a duck's back. I had it backwards. I'm gonna let it be like, water off a duck's back. Let it roll off of me and keep pushing. And I think it's important, especially as we move forward into a new year, to keep that type of mentality, because a lot of times when people will wrong you, people will offend you, whether they are close or an associate or a stranger, to not let it get to you and to be able to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. My theme song for that theme is "Let It Go, Let It Go." I sing that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It helps. All right, and that's it for breakfast with Dr. Marissa. And
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
I encourage you to adopt this good life habit, this hashtag Blisscipline, as my big brother, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, will call it. 28 consecutive days, they're saying, for a good habit. They extended it from 21. So if you do this with or without me every weekday morning, then you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast.
Good morning.
And now, sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, Mom T. She's in the cashier gallery.
Oh, is she? Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Where is my, let's see. Hi, Mom T. I totally agree. Let it go. I got a great, did you see the picture of me and Mom T in the video
did.
clip? Wasn't that a good picture?
That was
Or
fabulous.
actually, it was a little video clip. I hope she saw it. I'm not sure if she saw it, but
I sent it to her. I did. I sent it to her.
you sent her. Okay, good. Because I know she's not as social that she wants to, as I have to be. Hi, we got hearts. I love her so much. All right. Topic of the day. Here we go. Everything is awesome. It matches my outfit today. All right. What is it, Dr. Tiffanie?
Promises, resolutions, keeping them, letting them go. What is it that you want to do this coming year? A lot of times, as we transition, we make promises to ourselves, we make resolutions. Everyone tends to reflect as we transition from year to year. As for me, I don't make resolutions.
Oh,
I decide to try to be a better person in the next year than I was the year before. I think it's easier for me to do that because just being better is more practical. But I know a lot of people like to make resolutions or promises. And whatever it is you choose to do, just be true to you. What do you say, Dr. Marissa?
that sounds really good. I don't know if I don't make resolutions. I certainly don't put a list down like I used to. I do follow sort of a hybrid version of what you're talking about. I want to do better in every area of my life for sure. I am a goal oriented person. And I know that when I was trying to lose weight, I was very frustrated because it just wasn't working. And so I even went to a 12-step program that was like not the old Overeaters Anonymous, but a new version where they say you cannot diet. And I gained 10 pounds. So that didn't work. I need that goal. And I think New Year's resolutions are good for letting you aspire to something. But I think unrealistic goals are more harmful than good, because if it's not possible, or if it's not healthy, whatever it is, then you go, and then you start losing the momentum. And I was surprised. I did a little research yesterday. How many days? Well, you already know. I showed you the promo, but I'll have Mom T. How many days do you think the average person can go on a New Year's resolution before they fall off the cart or the beam or whatever? See if she's still there to answer that question, or anybody in the chat. I was actually surprised. I thought maybe like 3 months or even 1 month. So let's see if we've got any guesses. We don't have any guesses, but what? Oh, you already know. It's 17 to 18 days. Like that's not a lot. That's like 2.5 weeks. So it's all or nothing. mentality, I think, is within 30 days. Okay, so you were like me. I thought 30 days too, but 17 to 18 days is what the research is showing. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a lot. So I thought we could talk about in a general sense, even, how do we keep promises
Mm-hmm.
ourselves? And that's not just a New Year's resolution topic. It is, I think, a bigger thing around personal mastery. And I think, Dr. Tiffanie, I taught that course this year at UCLA called Leadership Effectiveness and Happiness. But it was to fit in this bigger module, but it really is this course that I've been focusing on teaching and taking to different schools and universities and platforms, is who's the boss of you? Like, if you are not able to keep your own promises to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then how can you really be successful? Like, if if you have insecurity, if you have imposter syndrome, if you have self-sabotage tendencies, if you have a super active critic, if you never think you're good enough, if you don't think you're worthy, all of those things are what erodes at your ability to keep promises to yourself. And so
Absolutely.
that's what I wanted to talk about today.
Absolutely. And basically, keeping promises is doing what you said you would do. And it's important to keep a promise because it helps to build trust, which can help build your own self esteem and your own self confidence. It can also help improve your emotional health and your mental health. And I have some different tips to help you keep your self promises. And it's important to keep your self promises because it helps build your own personal integrity. Because when you keep your own promises, you feel like you're worthy and you look inward and you value your own self. And
Dr. Tiffany, can I interrupt you for just a
Mhm.
second? We still have 7 minutes before we go to solution.
Oh no,
So,
I'm not talking about
oh, you're
solutions yet.
not okay. Okay, good. Because you
No,
said
no.
you had some.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just speaking in general. And
Okay.
so keeping promises to yourself, it requires intentionality, it requires commitment. And when you look at yourself, and even when you look at other people, you want other people to keep promises to you. So you want to set the example. You want to set the example for your friends. You want to set the example for your family. You want to set the example for your children. So you want to be the change. And so you think of these things and you reflect on these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Um, I just, because I love to see what the research is showing, I just wanted to share, this is the top, what actual people are doing resolutions around, which I thought it was and look at you. You're in this one. I am not making a resolution. Can you see this? 40%.
Mm-hmm.
4 in 10 said they do not plan on making resolutions for next year. Save money, 21%. Eat healthier, 19. I'm surprised. Usually this one to exercise more is the top one, if I remember from past research. Lose weight. Sorry, lose weight's not usually number one. 15%. Spend more time with family, quit smoking, and reduce spendings on living expenses. So this is for 2025. So I thought that was interesting to put that together.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's amazing as society changes, our priorities change and we reflect and our desires change and our practicality changes because basically, like you said, people tend to not be able to keep resolutions. And some people are realizing, okay, I haven't been able to keep them in the past. So why should I keep trying to make them and break them? So let me do something that's more practical so that I don't feel like I'm letting myself down.
yeah, yeah, really good point. I also found this in Forbes. I wonder if I know the person because I write for Forbes sometimes too. No, I don't know this person. But if you're a small business owner, and there are more and more, I think COVID, one of the hashtag COVID silver linings was people who've always wanted to start their own business did. And so here are some good tips, but I wanted to go through it because I'm so happy to see this, that number 9 is take care of yourself before number 10, take care of others. And that was the topic of my Monday show for Mental Health Matters, is selfishness. And so that's, my resolution is to continue being taking care of myself before trying to take care of everybody else around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're good at that. You've
Yes.
Yeah.
But generally, prioritizing yourself is not truly selfishness, because remember, we did the show on Journey to the Center of You, and that's not necessarily truly selfishness, because to a certain extent, even if an airplane is going down, they put the oxygen on yourself before putting it on your neighbor or your child, because you can't pass out. And you have to, in certain situations, prioritize yourself. Now, we're not saying be a narcissist. That's a whole nother show, maybe.
Yeah, but I actually am putting the moose on the table of taking back the word selfish and not making it a bad thing. Between pleasure and selfishness, I think that it's really been given a bad rap. And the word itself, there is not a horrible thing to be selfish. Not, like you said, going to the extreme, being a narcissist, but I think it's a good resolution to take care of yourself. The whole idea of when I ask people when they come for coaching, do you take time for yourself? Do you do things for yourself? Do you have time to take care of yourself? And the answer is always no. Right? I don't have time. By the time I take care of my insignificant other, I mean my significant other, my kids, my job, my boss, my parents, I don't have time for myself. And
Yeah. And I would say,
have time. You'll never have time for yourself if you don't say, promise, I love you, I love me enough to make time for myself to do something fun.
absolutely. And women in particular, female caregivers, specifically moms, are notorious for prioritizing the household above themselves, whether it's their children or if they're taking care of their parents. Remember, we talked about caregivers. If they have their parents living at home, they are notorious for taking care of their children, their elderly parents, their spouses or significant others. They prioritize everyone, even forsaking their own medical appointments. And they will prioritize everyone above themselves, and they will forsake their own health to their own detriment. And it is something that they should not do, especially in 2025. And even men, if they are the primary caregiver, they will forsake themselves above everybody else. And I think it's important for their own mental health to take time for themselves. Even if it's an afternoon, God willing, a whole day, that would be great. But they need to take some time away, because everyone needs some time away.
Yeah.
And they need time away with their partner alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of tough love. If you're the person that's saying, I never have time for myself, or I don't have the ability to do that because this needs to get done, and this needs to get done, and this needs to get done. So my question to you is, does it really need to be perfect what your house looks like? Does it need to be perfect how your attention to your kids' homework or whatever it is, does it need to be perfect? Because I hear a lot when I do systems work and I bring families in together, no one's asking you to go over and above what's your basic responsibility of putting a roof over the head of children or having food on the table? No one's asking you to do a whole full gourmet whatever, right? Because you want to be the perfect mom or the perfect wife or the perfect whatever. And that perfectionism is what is driving you to exhaustion. It's not your responsibilities. It's the way you are interpreting your responsibilities. Make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways, it is halfway through. And so it is time to take a break for news, weather, and traffic on this NBC News Radio channel, KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, and to hear from our sponsors and what's going on in Dr. Tiffany's writing life. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. Don't go away. Chuck Woolery, may he rest in peace, said we'll be back in 2 and 2. We say peace and peace out. We'll be right back.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Hello, I am Dr. Tiffanie, Tiffanie Tate, and I would like to welcome you to visit my webpage at www.drtiffanie.com, and you will find my books, Little Engine Mia Sings, which is also available as an audiobook. It teaches children about bullying and how to speak up. You can also find that on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble. There's also my book, That Touching, which teaches children about inappropriate situations and how to speak up and speak out. You will not be disappointed. Then there is my book, Money Matters. It teaches children about saving, tithing, and investing. You can pick all of these books up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And as a special holiday treat, you can message me and go in and submit your name for an opportunity drawing, and you can possibly win a signed copy of one of these books. So submit your name today and be entered in for the drawing. Have a blessed holiday season. Thank you.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And the station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel that houses all 1,298 podcast shows. I was doing those before they called them podcasts, I think. And we're so happy that you are here this Tuesday, Wednesday, with my very special series called Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And you just heard all of the fabulous books that even if you already did your holiday shopping, it's okay. It's never too late to have books that really help kids learn about very important, maybe not comfortable talking about. And she's made a way for you to actually talk to your kids so that it is comfortable and yet very, very important. My favorite one, obviously, is the bad touching one, because I think that that is truly something that in this generation, I hope that we are able to eradicate in our society. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Dr. Tiffanie. And now back to the topic, which is keeping promises. promises. Keeping promises for yourself. And now, Dr. Tiffanie, what's the research you've done?
Okay, let's talk about some tips for keeping promises. So, I'm going to talk about 6 tips right now for helping you keep your promises. The first is to be organized. You want to avoid making impulsive promises. Sometimes you get into a situation and you feel backed into a corner and you just blurt out something. Well, that is something you don't want to do because if you do that, chances are you may not be able to keep that promise because you did it impulsively and you may not have thought it out. Then you want to be motivated. Easier to keep a promise if you genuinely want to do it. Because if you don't really want to do it, you might do it half heartedly and you may be really hesitant. Then you don't want to over promise. So be honest if you can't deliver on it. So don't just make up stuff.
Lose 80 pounds in a month, as an
Mhm.
example. Like that's even
Yes.
20 pounds in a month.
Yes. So 5 is definitely realistic. 10, you want to eat. So you want to keep things in perspective. You also want to prioritize and schedule time. Make sure you have time to keep your promise. So if you know you have to work from, say, 9 to 5, don't promise to be somewhere at 3 o'clock because that doesn't fit in your schedule, especially if you have a boss that you know you can't get off. So let's be practical with what we can and can't do. Also, break it down. Break large promises into smaller chunks. So, say for instance, if I decide I want to write another book and I'm going to plan my time, I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to write a little bit either in the morning or the afternoon. So at that time, I'm going to devote that time to writing and I'm not going to do anything else, as opposed to saying, I'm going to write this book this month. Well, I'm probably not going to write a book in a month, but I can probably write it over a few months if I break it down into smaller pieces. So I'm being more practical with how I'm going to allocate my time. And then track your progress and celebrate the small victories because it's okay to give yourself a attaboy or attagirl and pat yourself on the back.
Great tips. A couple of things that I've experienced when I say it's like, let's say a writing project, which we both do, or whatever that big elephant is that you want to achieve. Then what I'll do is I'll go, I'm going to block this out of my calendar this whole week. And I'm going to do all of it in that time. And then that time comes and I sit down and I'm like, I wonder what's in the fridge, or I need to call this, and I'll check my bank balance, whatever it is. And the day goes by, and then the more stress of, oh my gosh, I have less time to do it, and then it's gone. So I don't do that anymore. I do what I call 15 minutes at a time. So I will sit down and just say, okay, if I'm feeling the inspiration to, even if I'm not, I'll start doing whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And the next thing you know, it's sort of, I kickstart myself into the momentum of, oh, this is kind of fun. Or this is, then it sort of opens that valve. And next thing you know, it's an hour, 2 hours later instead of 15. So I break everything down into 15 minutes at a time or 18 minutes at a time because of the eights. And that helps me complete things that are resolutions or promises to myself.
You know, I also looked at the opposite. When we don't keep promises to someone, it communicates to them often that we don't value him or her. And often it seems like we've chosen to put something else of our commitment to them. And even when we break small promises, others learn that they cannot count on us. And then, like little tiny fissures develop in the relationship, and it kind of becomes like a hereditary marked version of broken promises. And so that person kind of begins to look at you with a side eye. And so as you continually begin to renege on the promises, whether you do it to yourself, when you do it to yourself, you begin to develop this self-doubt and this insecurity within yourself. But then when you do it to other people, they begin to think, okay, you're unreliable. So then you begin to think that you're unreliable. So then there begins to be this perpetual thing. So you think you're unreliable, other people think you're unreliable. So there develops this cycle. And you really don't want to fall into that cycle because you can rely on yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You want other people to believe in yourself, but what matters most is how you feel about you. So that's why it's important to be practical with what you promise to yourself and what you promise to other people.
Really, really foundational. I believe that if you don't think you are good enough, then whatever it is that you're trying to do is not going to be good enough. That there has to be a break. And I'm one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. I know that Dr. Tiffanie also has. And if we focus on those messages that we got when we were kids, that we were not good enough, you're good for nothing, who do you think you are, you're not all that. If we carry that stuff that was not our fault when we were kids and bring it into our present and spew it in front of us on our future, then you know what? The entire life, you're going to have that voice continually helping you break your own promises, because then it becomes, why bother, right? I'm really, why even try? And this is the root of the message of many people who have given up on life. And that's the moose on the table truth. You know, those people who had every reason to love their lives, Robin Williams, Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, the list is endless. At some point, you can read what they thought of themselves, and that self-loathing. You know, I said this on TV on ABS-CBN in the Philippines on the #1 channel, #1 show with Karen Davila, and I said, she asked me, "What's the fundamental block to happiness?" Because of my book, 8 Ways to Happiness, and I said, self-loathing and self-hatred. And she's like, what? No, it can't be. You know, people don't hate themselves. And I said, do you ever say to yourself, you know, why did I say that? Why should, you know, I shouldn't have said that. And you know, do you ever say to yourself, I'm my own worst critic, or nobody's harder on me than I am? And she looked at me and she went, oh, yes. And so it's not because I like being right, because I do, but just having her understand the power of that negative soul-sucking belief system, that BS that we have to take responsibility for. So when you're not keeping promises to yourself, what is your self-talk? Do you continue saying, well, of course I'm going to break that promise because I can't do anything right? No, you say, I'm not perfect. I'm imperfectly perfect. I can do 88%. I'm going to get back up and I'm going to do 88%. I'm not going to do 100. I just fell off. So there's 10, right? But I still have room to keep going. So it's not that ability to keep standing. It's the ability to get up after you've fallen down.
Absolutely, absolutely. And keeping promises is so important, because not only is it meeting expectations, it's like the glue that helps to foster relationships with yourself and with others. And it helps to build trust, respect, and an understanding. And as you look within yourself, you help to believe in yourself, you help to encourage yourself, and you help to propel yourself to not just reach your goal, but foster an understanding of self belief, self respect, and you help to love yourself as you are. And I think it's important because remember, I always said that even when you fail to meet your whatever you promise yourself, it's okay because that is just first attempt in learning, FAIL. It's okay to not achieve what you wanted to achieve because numbers are infinite. So if there's a first, there's a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. You should never give up on yourself. You just keep on trying. And I think that that is the most important perspective as we transition from this year to the next year. You should never give up on yourself because as you make promises to yourself, promises and commitments can change to yourself. So you continue to keep on trying, you continue to persevere. I am an example of that. Dr. Marissa is an example of that. I was an OBGYN. I went through medical school. I went through residency. My parents were struggled with drug addiction, and I was from Compton. I was taken from my parents. I was raised by my aunt, and I overcame significant obstacles to reach my goal. And that goal was taken from me. I gave it up reluctantly, and I went through trauma to become a writer. And I have written books, I have written plays, I have written songs, and now I am what I am now. So, yeah, I did not want to become a writer, but I am a writer now. I wanted to be the surgeon that I trained to become. And that was my first goal that I achieved. That was what I had desired to be, a surgeon. I achieved that. And I had to pivot and transition. That was my plot twist. And that was my first goal that I achieved. Now I'm on my second. Who knows? There may be a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. Like I said, numbers are infinite. So when it comes to you and your desires, you may achieve your first, you may achieve your second. Just remember, numbers are infinite.
Yes, 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 yes. I say go up, hashtag UP. Michelle Obama, brilliant, go high. I say go up because up stands for unlimited possibilities. And I'm on a mission, not just a happy 88 mission, but a mission to get you to expand your BS, your belief systems that you can only be one thing. So if Dr. Tiffany had followed that BS, that belief system that you can only be good at one thing and you should be doing that one thing for the rest of your life, she'd be in trouble because she couldn't do that thing anymore. So that's one of the fundamental things that I don't know who started that, jack of all trades, master of none. That's bullshit talkie. You can do many things in your life. You can do multiple careers. You can do multiple fields in your life. You don't have to be 100%, but your expansion in being able to do other things. I mean, the joy, you may not have wanted to be a writer, you may not have wanted to do what the things that you're doing, but I know that you have so much joy from this process that you continue to go through, that all of us, here's an opportunity, 2025, let's not talk about the pandemic, let's not talk about the losses, let's not talk about, we can talk about series to a certain extent, but this year, learn a new language, even 5 words in each language. Learn a new instrument. Learn to write your memoirs. Learn to write a screenplay. Learn to do stand-up comedy. Learn to all of these things that are possible. Plus, We have YouTube is a brilliant, and they're not paying me to say this, but it's a brilliant repository of really talented and gifted people sharing their tips and hacks on how to learn new things and how to do. There's so much, but you got to start by stopping doing something that is an energy drainer or an energy, that really is. Was my life really enhanced by staying up till 3 a.m. watching a series? Yes, good series, whatever. You have some conversation with somebody, but in the end, really, or MS scrolling, right? Click, 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 seeing all these cute videos or whatever. I know I shouldn't be saying this because I do it myself, both making and clicking, but I can waste an hour doing that. Or going to the coffee shop and having conversation with, there's so many ways, if you're honest with yourself, that you can act on your own behalf and use that time, which is a non-renewable energy, to do something new, to do something self-serving, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that as we transition to another year, we should evaluate what we're doing with ourselves, like Dr. Marissa said. And one thing I found was something interesting. I looked up, why do people struggle to keep promises? And I found one doctor, his name is Dr. Hanam. He said some people make promises they can't keep because of a people-pleasing tendency. And he said they want to be able to ingratiate themselves to others, and they want others to like them, but they're not being realistic about what they're actually able to do. And so I think it's important to not make promises to other people that we ourselves don't really want to do. We should not promise to other people something that we don't want. We should only promise to other people things that we actually want to do. And we must always be true to ourselves. And I think when we move forward into 2025, I plan to be true to me. I don't know about you, Dr. Marissa, but I'm going to leave the past behind. I'm going to let Tiffany shine. And Abraham Lincoln once said, commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. It is the words that speak boldly of your intentions and the actions which speak louder than the words.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So let's do a practical application of all of this. I just had this inspired thought. One of the people that I interviewed, and I'm going to blank on his name again. I always do. I don't know why. But if it comes, it'll. But we are the sum of the habits that we have, basically, is his message. So let's see. We wake up. If we have a habit of picking up our phone and starting to do the scrolling, we're not going to be able to create time that we want. So one habit, instead of talking about, how much weight I'm going to lose or how much whatever, this is a practical, I'm going to plug this in another room. So when I wake up, the first thing I can do is immediately go into my routine of meditating instead of getting sidetracked by this or whatever it is. Going to brush my teeth, new habit, don't let the water run while I'm brushing my teeth, conserving a little water. Go have breakfast. When I have the coffee that I want to have, do I really have to go to Starbucks, or do I really have to go somewhere? Can I cut some costs by using, a Keurig or whatever to make, I used to spend so much money. I don't even want to tell you, going out and getting coffee at where. And I've saved a lot of money by enjoying and liking the Keurig. That first step of coffee that I get is Pete's, them to endorse. But I enjoy that. That's my new habit. That saves a lot of money. Then I get dressed. Instead of looking at the closet and saying, I have nothing to wear, I do a weekly, let's go through the clothes and, I didn't know about this. And I try to wear something different and appreciate what I have every single day. Another new habit in the car. What am I doing on the way to work? Instead of talking on the phone, I'm listening to inspiring podcasts now. I rarely talk on the phone. I listen to Abraham Hicks. When I get to work, instead of seeing people the same way that I usually see them, I try to find something good to compliment them for, which is different than what I usually do. Instead of saying, oh, I got to do this at work, I look for things that I actually enjoy doing and sit down. I have a conversation with my boss and say, 2025, I'm really good at this. I'd like to do more of this. I'm not so good at this. What can I do to improve? Or I really don't want to do it anymore. Is there any way we can, do a job share? So these are all breaking patterns, pattern interrupt for our own lives that you can, instead of having the resolution, you can have the resolution, but practically, as Dr. Tiffanie was saying, you can't fulfill those promises unless you break the patterns that are keeping you doing the things that you're doing that are not acting on your own behalf.
Well, I agree. That's beautiful. For me, when I wake up, the first thing I do is I thank God for another day, and I am very grateful. And depending on what day of the week, I have a various routine because on Wednesdays, we usually have our prayer line before we have the show. That's about 7 o'clock. My sorority has a prayer line. On Sundays, I have Sunday school at 8 and then church service. And on Saturdays, it depends. I sometimes have a meeting. On Tuesdays, sometimes I have a meetings. And so people always like, Tiffanie, you always have a meeting. So it just depends on what I'm doing. But every day is a morning prayer and meditation and a devotion. And I listen to Electio, which is a morning service. And then I have my morning Bible verse that I read or listen to, kind of like both. And then I sometimes sing in the shower.
And we're up at the end of the show. Final word from Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
I would say I want you in 2025 to remember that opportunities and numbers are infinite. Don't be afraid to remember it's okay to fail in 2025 because that is your first attempt in learning. Remember, you can soar into greatness.
My final word is you are enough. You are loving, lovable, loved, and wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness. Each and every one of us, not a throwback in the bunch. We're one of a kind, wonderful, not perfect, 88% fabulous. And if you don't believe that, it's okay. I'm holding that truth for you, and in time and with action, in acting on your own behalf, you will believe it too. Thanks for joining us today. Fabulous show on, if I can say so myself. Thank you, Dr. Tiffanie, for another great show. Thank you for being on here for a year with me, and you know the drill. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best
years
ever. Woohoo! I'll give you one more applause.